FPL have announced some of the biggest changes that we have seen in years to the game, and in today's video I'm going to update you exactly what has been announced and what we can plan for going into game week 1. It is so good to be back. I hope you guys are doing well. As always, if you look forward to today's video, make sure to drop a like and of course hit that subscribe button ahead of a busy pre-season of content. Enough waffling, let's get to today's video. So first up, FPL decided to give us twice as many FPL chips this season, which is the most that we've ever had in the game. Now, first up, a moment of silence for the assistant manager chip. It stuck around for one season, caused so much chaos within the FPL community. Some people had amazing moments with it, others hated it. It seems like the general consensus was that it wasn't good for the game. So FPL decided to axe the assistant manager chip. Instead, what they've decided to do is keep the OG chips, the bench boost, the free hit, the triple captain, and the wild card. But similarly to historical, where we have the wild card, first one in the first half of the season, and then we get given a second one in the second part of the season, that principle is happening for all of the chips. So as you can see here by this graphic, between game weeks 1 and 19, we will have the opportunity to play the bench boost, free hit, triple captain, and wild card. When we hit game week 20, they will give us 4 new chips: bench boost, free hit, triple captain, and wildcard. The important thing to note is that if you get to game week 19 and you haven't used any of your chips, you can't roll these into the second half of the season and have 8 chips. If you don't use them, you lose them in the first half. So that is going to mean that for 4 of those game weeks, they are going to be chip usage weeks, which makes it really, really exciting for the game. Now, I've put a few early thoughts to the side here. Just generally, the game hasn't actually been announced yet, so things can change. But my first few thoughts are, I think the bench boost in game week 1 is just going to be such a popular strategy. The reason being is whenever we use our bench boost, we got to make sure that we have 15 players that actually are going to play. And there's no better time to predict a team than in game week 1. We kind of know the players who are going to start. We know those that are maybe a bit on the periphery. So we have less things that can actually surprise us. And importantly as well, for bench boost over the years, we got to spend loads of transfers trying to build this squad for this one game week where we bench boost to then move away from those players. I think a bench boost in game week 1 is going to be very, very popular. Now, in terms of the free hit, usually we got to use those in a double game week or a blank game week, but a lot of people are predicting that we're not going to get many of those this season due to the way that the cup competitions have been organised. So I think we could be really aggressive with the free hit, and I think it'll be much more manager specific. Whereas before, everybody says you got to play the free hit in this game week. I honestly think the free hit is going to be team dependent, and whatever week you think the fixtures land perfectly for your team where you can slightly adapt it. Let's say 2 big teams play against one another. The free hit can just be used in that week and really target that specific game week, knowing that you can come out of the back of it. So I'm really excited to use the free hit this season. I think the big thing for me is when you give this many opportunities with chips to managers, there's going to be so many different routes that people go down. I don't think there is going to be a clear path. Historically, you use all your chips at the back end of the season, and everybody kind of does the same thing. There's going to be some managers that throw everything in the first few game weeks and just try and have an amazing start. Some might hold off for later on in the first half. I'm excited to see what direction that will go. The big thing here, I think, is rolling to 5 free transfers might be difficult because remember, when you do use a chip, you don't roll a transfer. So if you have 1 free transfer, you use a chip, then that effectively uses your free transfer. So you have 1 free transfer the following game week. So actually getting to 5 free transfers might be more difficult in those opening game weeks if we do go down the strategy of bench boosting game week 1 and possibly obviously using another chip in the opening 5 game weeks, because a wildcard is usually used in those opening weeks. So all in all, I think this is going to divide managers, but personally, I quite like it. I love the way it's changed up the things in the first half of the season. It means that managers can be really aggressive, and I think this is a good move by FPL Towers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let's move on to the next one. So the second announcement, and this is one of the biggest ones I feel, is the introduction of defensive contributions. We've been shouting about this for years, how a lot of the players that we pick from are from a small pool of players, because effectively defenders, obviously you want the ones that get the clean sheets, and then obviously the ones that get goals and assists. Midfielders, you just want the guys who basically play as wingers or as 10s. There isn't really any reason to buy centre backs who play for teams that are quite lowly down because they can see goals, and there's no point buying centre mids because they just don't really contribute towards the game. Things have changed this season though with this new rule. So just as a bit of an overview here, as you can see from this graphic, blocks, tackles, interceptions and clearances are going to be defensive actions that lead towards points for defenders. For midfielders and forwards, you have the same four, but also recoveries are included. Now you can see here, there are 10 defensive contributions for a defender equals 2 points. 12 defensive contributions equals 2 points for the midfielders and forwards. The reason why it's 12 is because we've also got the recoveries included for the midfielders, so we got to bring up the benchmark a little bit for those. The big thing we need to remember here is that you can get 2 defensive contribution points if they hit these 10 or 12, but if they were to get 20 as a defender, that doesn't become an additional +2. The maximum that they can get is 2 defensive contribution points. So anything after 10 defensive contributions doesn't make any difference. You just need them to hit 10 as a defender or 12 as a midfielder. Forwards aren't going to hit 12 because they don't do enough of these things to justify it. So it really does make certain players really, really exciting. So again, some early thoughts here. In terms of the defenders, the only thing that you need to think about is going to be which players do well in clearances and in tackles, because blocks per 90 honestly make up nothing. And in terms of the other one, the interceptions, again, that is so low, it won't contribute towards the scoring. Now, I'm going to put up a graphic here. Shout out to Fantasy Football Scout here from their members section. Make sure you do check it out. It's fantastic. We've just got a list of players here, of players that have played 10 or more games. Some of these, of course, slightly skew it, like Danzo at the top, because he's only played 10 games. But I filtered it here by clearances, because this is the one that you need to focus on, because this is where they get the most. Take someone like Huijsen as an example, because he's played consistently throughout the season. He managed to get 7.09 clearances per 90 minutes. So straight away there, you've got 7 defensive contributions. So we just need 3 from the other areas. Well, if you look at it, he only got 1.06 blocks per 90. Hence why I'm telling you, don't consider blocks. It won't really make up those 10 each and every game week. Then we take a look at the recoveries. 3.84 for Huijsen. So that's decent. But again, he is of the higher bracket, isn't anywhere near what these defenders would get for clearances. Hence why I'm telling you to focus on clearances. But with the tackles, it isn't tackles 1, it's just tackles in general. And if you have a look at Huijsen here, tackles per 90 at 1.72. So again, defenders don't get as many tackles as possibly you're thinking. There are some that are higher. For example, like a Mazraoui at Man United. He is around 4 per 90. So that definitely heightens it. But really, it's all about tackles and clearances when it comes to the defenders. Now, I'll bring up the midfielders here because, as I stated, the midfielders are slightly different. We focus on the tackles because, of course, they're all action, but we're also going to be looking at the recoveries. That is basically what clearances are to defenders, recoveries are for midfielders. So I'm putting up the stats here for the midfielders again from the Fantasy Football Scout members area. And we filtered it by recoveries. You can see top of the list here is going to be Ryan Christie at Bournemouth. He has got 7.74 recoveries per 90 minutes. Now, again, we need to get 12 defensive contributions from midfielders. So he's already made up 7 of those per 90. If you look at the blocks, 0.47. Just ignore blocks when we're looking at midfielders. In terms of tackles, he has got a total of 3.87. So that isn't too bad at all for Christie in terms of the tackles. So that kind of makes you up to around 10. And then the other one that we're looking at is going to be interceptions at around 1.28 and clearances at 2.08. So someone like a Ryan Christie is an all-action midfielder who I do think will rack up these points, not every single week, but you can see here the recoveries is massive for these midfielders. Someone like an Andre as well, a monster in the tackle and also in the recoveries. He will consistently hit the defensive actions points. So make sure you have these sort of players in your mind. The one I just want to quickly draw your attention to is going to be Bruno Fernandes. Now you can see there in the tackles per 90, 4.15, which is great. Recoveries at 6.55. So someone like Bruno Fernandes, he isn't going to hit it each and every week per 90 minutes. But when he does, alongside the attacking potential that he possesses and being on penalties, I think Bruno Fernandes is going to be a phenomenal asset based on this. So to kind of round this up, target the best midfielders between 4.5 and 5. I don't think players are going to hit this as many times as we think. So those midfielders, yes, they're great on this list, but if they're going to be priced 5.56 million, forget about them. Get the best player that does well in these statistics at 4.5 and 5. This isn't enough to justify paying over the odds for a player. In terms of the defenders, I think this can make 4.5 million centre-backs really, really appealing. And it could mean that we have a couple of premium defenders, 4.5 million defenders that do the good stuff here. And then maybe we could pay a bit more for goalkeepers who we know are actually better for us in the game. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think this is a great introduction. Okay, so next up, and this is the first, I would say, slip up from FPL headquarters. And that is going to be African Cup of Nations transfers. I just think they've messed up here. I really do. So just as a general overview, all managers are going to be topped up to the maximum possible number of 5 free transfers in game week 16. So for those that don't know, every other year, African Cup of Nations happens and players that are participating in it halfway through the season will go to their respective countries and will be out of Premier League action for maybe 4 or 5 game weeks. Now, historically, this has been great for those active managers because we prepare for it. We know it's going to happen. Whereas some managers, maybe who aren't as active, wake up on game week 15 or 16 whenever those players are travelled, look at their team and panic that they haven't prepared for it. So this introduction here is great for those managers that are a little less active in the community. Now, the big thing that we need to state first and foremost is that it is topped up to 5 free transfers. So you're not given 5 free transfers. If you go to game week 16 with already 3 in the bank, they're just going to give you an additional 2. The maximum that you can have is 5. So less planning is really required. Whatever situation you're in, you're going to get to game week 16. Everybody's going to have 5 free transfers. And then you can basically sell off your African Cup of Nations if you still have them in your team. So a few things to touch on. Firstly, it makes game week 15 kind of a free hit game week. If you are in a position where you're able to actually get yourself to 4 or 5 free transfers in game week 15, what you could do is use all of those 4 or 5 free transfers to basically build the best possible team for game week 15. And then in game week 16, knowing that you'll get topped back up to 5 free transfers, and then you can start to build your team for game week 16 and beyond. Now, again, that is something that maybe actually does benefit those managers that can plan better. Because, as I've stated here, it's really important to try and have 4 or 5 transfers in game week 15 to maximize this chip. Chip rule change. Because I think if you have, 1 free transfer available to you in game week 15 and you just use that 1 transfer, you're not really maximizing it the best way you possibly can. I think get to game week 15, have loads of transfers in the bank, use them all to bring in the best possible players, knowing that you get the 5 free transfers again in game week 16. I think this is going to be one of those things that we're all panicking about right now. I don't think it'll be as bad as people are making out, but I think it's a rule change that they didn't have to do. All of these new chips that they brought into the game is enough. That is a good enough rule change to make people who are less active more engaged with the game. This here definitely swings it towards those managers that maybe take less planning because you kind of have the opportunity to get through this without planning. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is the first mistake from FPL, I believe, though. So the final rule change that has been introduced so far, because it seems like FPL are making a lot of changes right now, is going to be the change to the assists. So whereas the other three, the chips, we can actually use that to our advantage, the defensive actions we can use to our advantage, and the AFCON changes. This here, and hence why it's going to be a very short section, is something that we can't control, but it is great for the game. So in the previous seasons, we have had it where if someone crosses the ball and it takes a slight nick off a defender's knee, that in some situations was deemed not an assist, because while it was going in somewhat of the direction of the player, it slightly changed the direction, and based on FPL, it meant that you didn't get the assist. And these are three examples here. Marmoush would have got the assist this season in the game against Aston Villa, but because his cross got a slight nick off a defender, FPL deemed it nobody getting the assist. And the same applies for the Bournemouth game and the Everton game. So this is great because it removes all sorts of opinion in the game. If a guy crosses it and it eventually reaches the guy, that is going to be deemed as an assist. None of this hits a knee sort of thing. So this is great for the game. It means there's going to be a lot more points scored because naturally we've had already more points for Marmoush, Scott and Pickford. And I just think it's going to rule out all of the controversy that managers do get on Twitter or X. Yes, we are still going to find ways to argue this rule, but I just think in general, we can sleep easier at night knowing that more assists are going to happen because the rules are very, very clear for us. None of this difficulty understanding it. And I think this is a good rule change from FPL, but as managers, nothing that we really need to know about because we can't influence who gets the assist or not. So just something to note, it is going to be more clearer and hopefully less of us are going to get raged out by the game and the decisions made by the headquarters. Yes guys, so that's going to wrap up today's video, and the first piece of content of the new 25-26 season. It is so damn good to be back. I honestly can't describe it. I've enjoyed the summer, don't get me wrong, but I am so looking forward to getting back doing this. Now, a lot of people are saying, when's the game going to drop? Unfortunately, I'm not in the know, but I think personally we're looking at a potential Monday or Wednesday launch. It's either going to be game drops on Monday, no price reveals, or I think it'll be Monday and Tuesday price reveals. Wednesday the game will launch. Regardless, you're going to see me on your feed basically every day. I am looking to do 5 pieces of content each week. So if that's something that excites you or you enjoyed last season, it'd be awesome to see you around in this year's videos. And of course, if you are a new subscriber, make sure you do hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. And guys, let me know in the comment section, what are your thoughts on these changes to the game? I think some of them are great, and some of them might be a little bit controversial, but regardless, we're going to embrace it on this channel and we are going to try and get the best finish we can. Can we beat the 270th rank of a few years ago? I doubt it, but I will try my best. So guys, it's so damn good to be back. Have an amazing day. Take care, and I will see you tomorrow.